Hi Aries, I just finished your reading. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be something that karma is calling you to kind of address. Sometimes moving forward is equally as important as moving backward. Definitely is asking you to kind of process certain things inside and focus and refocus. So, shall we start? Hi Aries, and welcome to your Gemini transit monthly. So that's like 21st to 21st, and this is a general reading just to kind of like get it out of the way. So please just check your ascendant and check your moon sign, as well as if you're cross watching, then I would suggest to check Mars sign for somebody else, just to see really the emotions on their part. So let's start, guys. First of all, it's kind of like interesting combination. You have karma, you have solitude, and you have focus. Clearly, you being going forward, go, kind of like a sign. This is kind of like a really, really interesting combination, especially with the karma coming first, because whenever I see this card, I'm saying, look, there is a DNA, which we do see this double helix over here for sure, right? But there is also that thing that kind of like is called soul, and we do not necessarily inherit soul from our biological parents. And I think this is like what this really tells us, that these serpents and these double helixes of the either side, it's talking about both our ancestries and both are who we truly are. It is kind of bringing, if you really wish, focus to that, right? Because this focus card here, I think it's really crucial. Karma, it definitely talks about, there's like this wheel of karma. Have you been good? Have you been bad? It is reassessment of the position where currently we are at, right? It is kind of like understanding ourselves, understanding what have been going, maybe being stuck at some times, maybe inheriting some kind of karma. We also have family karma, we also have societal karma, right? And I think, given that one thing that you guys are famous for, focus, it's kind of like really, really important. Because look at this, this is like this great amethyst, your third eye opening. And we also have in this picture as well this beautiful tree that grows like almost like solitary, with a storm looming over here, and with this like beautiful ray of light just like shining upon it. So it is simply just elegant, knowing that the life and the new thing can actually grow even on a solitary, even on a secluded thing that is unstoppable, just like karma is unstoppable. So I think, especially here when we have this amethyst, your third eye kind of color, we kind of like have been using amethyst for many centuries in healing. And I always dreamt about having a bathtub made out of amethyst, and I just kind of imagine basking in this like kind of like enormous energy and this enormous knowledge, right? So quartz excuse me, quartz is like very common in the earth's crust, right? Because they actually really help us power through things. So whether this is amethyst or clear quartz, it's kind of like time for you to figure out where is your focus, right? Eliminate distractions, just like here, like these two almost like keeps coming with the same message, right? So whether it's a project or something, relationship or whatever you're doing, find ways to really be fully present, right? Kind of like almost like sharpening, like when you're trying to take a good photograph, like you have to figure out this kind of light exposure, everything is kind of like in balance, right? But then you'll be ready for appropriate action, because this is like ready, set, go. Well, this is like ready, set, go. Focus is like, okay, that's where I'm going. Sort of like would be that stage, right? So it is definitely asking you to somehow release tension. I feel really tension. I feel possibly even exhaustion on your part. I even feel needing to be left alone, kind of like very contrary to what you generally feel. Kind of like it feels like maybe you're holding this big burden and you are kind of conquering things way beyond what you should. And I think it is really time to kind of like really kind of like filter out what kind of like really you want, and do you really need to put extraordinary power in it. So let's start. On the bottom of the decks, we have finances and career and strength. Lovely. The strength is also talking about winning, but winning against the most formidable opponent, ourselves. It is realization of who we are, and it is introspection. What is that you don't like yourself in? Is that like the way you express yourself? Is this the way you kind of like set things up? Is this the way or the results you're getting back? This also could be connecting really to your career, because it says financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. It could be you, it could be the partner, and it's probably the way how this is communicated, because this is really talking about maybe even going against our instinctual kind of like things that we want to do, like whether we want to blurt things out or just like do something. It's sort of like saying, just like, wait a minute, step back, just like exercise this kind of solitude, because whenever the karma comes out, it is telling me that you can either jump off this karmic wheel, or the motion is actually going in a new round. So when I do my karmic reading for people, it kind of like really tells you where you are, and it is kind of like continuously moving wheel. Like, what is else moving? Clocks are moving, right? We kind of like have that motion continuously, and each hour brings something new. So how do we judge if 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the morning is better? It is kind of like that kind of flow. I definitely think you might have stabilization, finances, and career on your mind, but I also have a feeling that you might actually resolve that urge, which I don't know how you will do it, because Uranus, Mars is coming in Aquarius, and that's kind of like really, if you think being Aries sometimes can be like, I mean, being high strung, like try this times 100. So let's see what's going to happen. Getting to know each other, true love. Because I have to say that actually I was starting this reading earlier, and I kept being interrupted continuously with the phone, with the door, with stuff. I said, like, scrap it and let's start all over again. You keep getting this island card, and you keep getting this true love card, and this time I kind of like fully properly focused, and kind of like this is what is coming out. So this is kind of repeating. This could be the one. Bad separation. Trust, codependency. Boy, you have the whole spectrum. Unrequited love, from true love to unrequited love to codependency to trust. So no wonder you need the solitude. No wonder like you're given a really big karmic thing. Pay attention, give your relationship a chance, pay attention to the red flags. And reconciliation. Let's leave this finances and career over here. And the strength. So what do we have here? The Fool. 6 of Cups reversed. The Hermit. 8 of Wands. The Chariot. 7 of Wands reversed. 4 of Cups reversed, 5 of Pentacles, King of Wands, and 3 of Pentacles. Well, overall, let's not kind of, let me call it. I'm not going to beat around the bush, you know that I'm not that kind of a reader. I guess the reason why you got this strength card here was because you really need strength this time around. You will be really facing yourself and the others. Maybe it's going to be the easiest to focus on the outside, but I will tell you, lots of work will come inside. There have been both internal and external struggle. As I said, sometimes winning is not the point. Sometimes you can win and lose at the same time, because one thing is proving that you're right, but you know, like, I mean, what they say, do you really want to be right or do you want to be happy? Sometimes it really comes down to that, and that's kind of like is going to be the theme of this month for you. Because definitely there is a sense of separation, whether it is actual separation or you needing to claim the time for yourself, but this is definitely happening over here. So let's check in the past. So then you have here another 8, and these are arrows of love. Definitely for some of you, maybe you met somebody, maybe you were really excited about kind of like the possibility of something new happening, something new coming. You have the Moon reversed, and like you have the Empress reversed. The Moon reversed is talking about, it's kind of interesting, it is 11. It was some kind of healing already happening. Maybe you have I definitely feel disconnect. Maybe the separation already took place in the past, and you were hoping that certain things would work out, but they were sort of like either dragging, or they couldn't kind of like reach the light of a day for some kind of a reason. There were lots of things that whenever you feel you were closer to a solution, something would happen that kind of like would surprise you. The Empress reversed talks about the possibly clingy nature. So whether it was you or somebody else, kind of like was really important. So then what is really important to notice here is that you almost like wanted to materialize something that just like was not happening, and it kind of like really felt very frustrating, because you really want to go forward. When you feel it, you want to express it, you're a really go person, but it kind of like did not work out that way, and it kind of like kept you in some kind of like wonder what happened and why this happened. The Empress is also the mother and the creator, and maybe you have to tap into your creative resources. Maybe if this is talking about your work, you maybe had issues that kind of like people were doing something behind your back, and maybe you have been sidetracked, or maybe you have been bypassed for promotion, and it was something that you really expected, and it took you kind of like really by surprise, and now you're kind of like left to kind of like really think about what needs to go on. Another thing, you actually do already have lots of majors, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be a really crucial month, because it is telling me that something has been already brewing in the past, and this is reaching final stages, which is kind of across the board. Looks like all signs kind of like are in that kind of like position, that things are kind of like wrapping up. We are putting the bow on it. Some of us are already moving forward, but like we are like sort of like all within that range, at the very last final stages, and you're like also literally in between. But you guys don't do anything kind of half-hearted, like everything is like all or nothing, right? And that's what I see over here in the heart of the reading. Getting to know each other, and then you have true love. So was it somebody, Aries, who comes from the past? Or is this the same person with whom now you're maybe approaching things a little bit differently, or wanting to approach things differently? Fool is a good card, but generally Fool talks about being single and kind of like paving a new path, almost like trailblazing, right? Believing you can do anything. The boundaries are also very important. Every new relationship is really about boundaries. Okay, well, this is how I lived my life. This is what I established in my life. And this is what I want in my life. And kind of like indecision. There was like really a situation over here that kind of like left you with wonder. Left you with wonder in if this can actually even work. Also, you were wondering if you really want to be on your own for time being, if you really need to be on your own for time being. But the truth is, like for some of you, maybe this person or something else got in the way, because you have here this true love. You know, maybe you're feeling you're kind of like doing this motion with other people, but neglecting yourself. And kind of like when you're out, when you're like feeling like you're doing things, you're kind of like interpreting this as like sort of like it is motion forward, this is successful. But I think that some of you felt that things were missing, or that things are not. I mean, you like to butt heads with people, and it's almost like this establishing of these boundaries is like you sometimes do it purposely to provoke, just to see how far you can go, and to see if this person, to test this person, if this person can be your partner, right? But inside, you're such a big fluffy, you know, Aries, you know, like you kind of like really want to cuddle with somebody. This card here talks about past. This talk here, or this card 6 of Cups, talks about, you know, memories of the past. Memories of, hey, back then everything seemed to be so simple. Back then I was like so loving. I was so amorous. I was like remembering this first teenager love. And maybe something is really not measuring up to this. Or maybe, on the other hand, like you're still going through a pain or something that is still not done, still not forgotten. The Queen of Wands could be you. The King of Wands is here. It is kind of interesting because I'm seeing here a few storylines. I'm seeing definitely that some of you will step away from a relationship and focus almost entirely on yourself, on your work, right? I see the separation. This can be permanent, it can be temporarily over here. The Hermit talks about, okay, literally finding out what you want, right? But I'm seeing a different storyline over here with some people really, truly rediscovering maybe another person that has already, you maybe have met somebody in the past, but things didn't progress. Maybe somebody was kind of like involved with children, with things. Maybe there was no clarity. Maybe you wanted to go forward, he or she didn't, or vice versa. Or simply kind of like it was the circumstances that kind of like didn't click for some reason. But kind of like it didn't kind of bother you too much. It kind of, you didn't pay too much attention, but it could be, it's also somebody who left a mark on you, who maybe, you know, like when you have a teenager love and you move on with your life and you kind of don't even think about it, and you hear the stories after stories. I was just today watching about Michael J. Fox, another Canadian, and how basically it went about him meeting the love of his life. So he said, what was that show he was in, you know, like as a child, where he was like getting 20,000, you know, fan letters a month, when he was like the smart aleck in the show. So they were auditioning women for basically the show, and so there was this one that he chose, and everybody thought they were dating, but they weren't. She was actually dating Kevin Bacon, and she sort of like was to herself, like minding her own business. And then he went on becoming a huge star with Back to the Future trilogy, etc., etc. And then he started to see the twitches and things going, and at the same time, the first time that happened, this woman somehow and him crossed their paths. So this is now years later. They're both adults. I guess they're ready. And this time they're not missing this opportunity. This time they're actually embracing it and kind of like moving it forward. And I think they're married now 29, 30 years. And in spite of him being like, I mean, diagnosed with Parkinson's, and him deciding really, like, family is really important. Family is like not nothing. Family is actually everything. So actually I see kind of like that possibility over here, that some of you will maybe have somebody coming back, or it might be a completely new person for who for some reason is going to give you a flavor of something that you experience. You know how when you're younger we kind of like capture that sense of, oh my gosh, you know, like, I mean, I feel here this so strongly, or the smell comes your way and you get like, oh, I kind of like had this perfume when I was in love, and like it brings all the emotions. So some of you are really going to like literally have two different stories, three stories. Somebody really suffering, somebody still trying to get to the bottom of something. Others, hey, I need to focus on myself. I have to figure out, I have to reconfigure myself and retune myself. And third one, finding your true love, finding your soulmate. So what is crowning you here, guys? The trust. And the trust could be kind of like a problem, because maybe there was also somebody you've been dealing with whom you've been back and forth, separation, right? And the Hermit is again just like the solitude, kind of like, you know, the time and space just for you is really, really needed. And look at the Six of Pentacles. It's kind of interesting because we had a 6 over here and 2 of Cups. That is definitely a breakup for some of you, or maybe really thinking about something that has happened. Again, like we had this setting these boundaries over here, and kind of like here it feels there was no equality, there was no give and take, and certain things really reached the point where it just couldn't proceed any further, because it just like kind of felt very, very one-sided. So somebody either didn't want to follow through with something, or it just like things just couldn't materialize. There's definitely talks about separation, there's definitely talks about breakup and being on your own. Now the Chariot, interestingly enough, is a solo figure. We don't see couples here. In Chariot we actually already faced our demons and we made our choices. That focus, imagine the focus that is needed here, because look at this, he's supposed to be kind of like flown away with his beautiful peacocks, right? And this sometimes can be just a matter of decision. It can be on and off switch. The light is either on or it's off. You either trust or you don't trust. Like there is no halfway. This is like being a little pregnant. If you just trust somebody, you don't trust somebody until they prove it to you, you're not trusting, right? Etc. So I think here it is like facing your own stuff, facing how you deal with lies, facing how you deal when somebody is really not straightforward or coming forward. We again having 2 karma cards already. You know what, guys, this is like really bringing things in focus, that, you know, being overly guarded. Now you're having 4 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles talks about walls that we kind of build to protect ourselves, right? But where are your windows? Where is like your soul, windows to your soul? Because this is really saying, look, you know what, people will be people. They will continue to lie, they'll continue to cheat, they'll continue to deal with anything they want, and you just cannot do much. You know, you just have to kind of learn that you trust yourself, and you guys are moving forward in spite of it. Or maybe even more interestingly, what is coming to me is that some of you might actually just continue with the situation just to see how it goes, just to see if things will continue in that same way. Maybe even sort of like being a little bit of a detective, or just saying to yourself, you know what, let's go with this, let's see where kind of like this kind of like lands, because it's kind of going to be of a kind of great interest to you. So in the imminent future, you're kind of resolving something. Codependency means very much like what we saw in the Chariot, sort of like sometimes black and white thinking. Codependency, yes, it can be any addiction. It can be booze and cigarettes, drugs. It can be working too much, which after all, finances and career, some of you might have their job in their jeopardy. Some of you may have been backstabbed. Some of you may feel lies being spread and gossip about you, right? Some of you might actually even decide to leave the work, or the work will leave you. And it isn't just not meant to be. Maybe it is like simply karmically time to move on. But codependency to me mostly means emotional dependency or emotional resolution of some issues. You were maybe kind of like upholding. You always show for Aries. Do you love Aries? How much? How much? What, you're not talking to me now? I guess she's like bored of being a superstar. She doesn't come as often anymore. Maybe it is just the summer where she kind of, maybe I'm not paying enough attention to her, and the birdie birds outside are way more interesting because I have these 2 window air conditioners, and under both the birdies are building their nests. And guess what, who is the supervisor over here? So codependency talks about finding your own center. And we can only find our own center through knowing ourselves, through strengthening ourselves, through actually dropping the walls. It's kind of interesting that you have those 4s as well, talking about you really want to feel more solid. You also don't want to kind of feel that somebody's pulling strings, whether this is at work or at home. You kind of like really feel almost like that you are left out, or that somehow playing is really hard for you. But you should understand that you simply just have to kind of take this in a more pragmatical way, kind of like try to reassess your positioning. What are you doing? What you want to do? What has been working so far? What's staying? What's not staying? What kind of like was return on investment? What it isn't return on investment? And how to proceed further. Right, Zeph? Yeah, she has to go in back matrix right now. So the 7 is very much linking to that chariot. It's linking back. It is going to progress. It's going to go forward. If you're losing your job, you're actually going to find something much better, and something that actually is going to grow, like, I mean, certain things further. Maybe you were dealing with an unhealthy environment, whether this is in a relationship or at work. And sometimes things just have to come to an end, and only then kind of like we wake up. You're sort of like feeling in a mood where nothing is right. Doesn't seem like the shoe fits. It doesn't seem that anything is kind of cheering. I would say some of you feel really depressed. Some of you feel at loss of words, at loss of what to do. Some of you are really suffering over separation or somebody who has been in your life. But codependency is saying that you have to ask yourself if this ever was love, or was there like enough give and take. Would this person be there for you, scratch your back, right? If something really needed to be done for you, or it was you. I mean, I know you have such big shoulders, you always carry other people, but you have to ask yourself truly, were they there for you? And more importantly, were you there for them? And just kind of like see what happened, because interestingly enough, the hanged man or the hanged cat is showing up. This card, going back to focus card, is to me always the 3rd eye chakra, that purple chakra that talks about something needs to open, something inside, and hence that solitude. But it's come reversed, just like here. It is kind of like talking about not learning a lesson. There you go, the codependency again. So still going through that lesson of codependency, still not maybe absorbing that this is what's happening, maybe still trying to solve the situation, still move forward. You are definitely committed to something or to somebody, but that something or somebody might not be committed to you, or vice versa. I guess it can go both in both ways, right? Because here, again, we have these 2 contrary things. Give your relationship a chance, and then somebody leaving you out in the cold and feeling the 2 of you against the world. other people maybe don't want to feel this way, because that feels very isolating, and that kind of like is also codependency, that feels isolating and feels like one person wraps themselves around another person, completely doing everything for them. The other person just like enjoys the basking in the sun, not even feeling that they have to do anything, kind of like selfishness to basically the extreme, right? And whenever you kind of recognize this, and I sort of like started to recognize this with my dad, that he just like wants to grab and grab and grab and grab and take. It is a very easy solution. Just say, you know, this stops here. No, you kind of like have to, you don't have to ask me how I am. It would be nice. But if you don't even think that I'm going to go out of my way to do things for you. Yes, that's kind of like something that is very hard for the givers, and hence this kind of like whole intricacies of codependency are born, because some people feel they're so great and so deserving. I will never forget that Snooki, when she was interviewed by, I think, Oprah, when she kept saying there's something really special about me, and I was saying, no, there's especially nothing really special about you, but the fact that you're a narcissist, right? Because this is also a card of narcissism, that somebody even thinks that somehow their star shines so much brighter than anybody else's, right? And hence maybe there were things and actions that happened, that have happened, isolating the two of you. I think you're waking up on that level. Seven of Swords means getting some kind of clarity, getting some kind of explanation, aha moment, and also getting closure. So it's kind of weird, because it's almost going to feel for you that one door is going to close, another one is just going to open, but not a little bit, wide open. There you are. You're waking up, you are claiming yourself, you're being on top of the world, you have like this big wand. There is like, you're waking up emotional, in passion, in an emotional way, in passion. You're becoming very passionate, and you're becoming like very energetic. So almost like this whole kind of thing was brewing, you know, like when the water, you put in the pot, and it just like nothing happens until one moment you start seeing little bubbles coming to the surface. I seen these little bubbles, and then here it is, like everything is coming, coffee is ready to be made. There is like still excursion back to the past, and pay attention to the red flags means that you'll be moving forward with caution, because the world reversed always talks about something is not finished. It's not necessarily the best place to be. And Naval Wands also talks about, you know, hesitation, not really going somewhere with gusto, kind of like really wondering. It is like, you know, when you're standing, you know, I don't know which sign had waterfall, right? It's like kind of like, do you think that water stands on the ledge of precipice and thinks, well, should I jump, should I not jump? It just kind of goes. It always finds its way to the ocean. This is kind of here that, in a sense, you are still going to be sort of on the bridge. It's like not completely walking through, because like you're working things out. And if it was easy, everybody would just like flick the switch and work them out. It isn't easy. You have codependency twice. This is one of the heavy lessons to learn. And check my other channel. I really cover codependency, and it kind of like really is neither sophisticated nor simplistic approach to it, right? So let's see how you are reaching the finale of this month. Reconciliation. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, Aries, this is a reconciliation on all levels. Someone from your past, it is returning to your life. And then we have here this teamwork. Things are finally clicking. Things are finally coming to full focus. Things are finally kind of like understood. Maybe you were saddened that you haven't been with someone. Maybe you're the one who did the leaving, because some of you are definitely kind of like dedicating, look, I need to be alone, need to be stuff. And it's kind of, this is what happens in codependency. Usually you have the narcissist and somebody who has chronic loneliness, and somebody who simply just like dreams is like big love, because narcissist charms with this all beautiful colors and everything. You're the best, you're the gorgeous, and da-da-da. And then when you finally relax, at first you don't believe your own luck, and second, like you go, okay, this all must be BS. And then you finally relax into it because like you have heard it so many times. And then finally when you relax, when kind of like these emotions started to brew, this other person just like pulls the plug, and none of that is happening. So you're just hollowed inside, and you spend the rest of that relationship trying to return that would happen, thinking just if I do that, if I do more, that's going to happen. So sometimes it doesn't happen, and with narcissists, with full-fledged narcissists, it's never going to happen. And if you want emotions, just check out right away. But this is telling me that here in your case, kind of like by pulling aside, and this is like what you do to a narcissist, right? Kind of like saying, you know what, no, this doesn't work for me. You kind of like go and be super special to somebody else. I kind of like have to focus on my business. I have to focus on my career, right? So this is just like bad karma. And you just guys don't tend to rotate over somebody or wrap yourself about somebody. So now I think this person is finally coming back, which kind of like means that they're not full-fledged narcissists to start with, but you know that maybe they did have some kind of like understanding, and that's where we had a hangman. That could be them. Maybe somebody needed to learn the lesson and they didn't. It's interesting I didn't pull one more card here, so I guess that was meant to be. But then we get the Temperance here, and Temperance talks about, okay, now you have done your work. It is the right time, it is the right place, the right person, and the right situation. So that focus and focus inside, and focus on where you're going in love, in family, in relationship, in career, is going to be sort of like the theme of the month. You'll be dealing with breaking the chains, or where you feel maybe entrapped, where you feel that you have been following certain things, and interestingly enough, you might feel that giving was a bad thing, that sometimes giving less is actually keeping things in balance, and balance is the key over here. So Aries, I pulled one more card for you. So let me tell you what this is. You got movement reversed, and this is what it says. Do you feel as if you're walking in circles, seemingly not getting anywhere? Consider the spiral that travels up and around. 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. Even backward movement helps you progress and reach your goal. You may need to revisit some of the places where you forgot to look for treasure. Another message is this: lessons need repeating for those who refuse or are unable to learn them the first time. Consider this another invitation to mastery. Definitely, because you did get a karma over here. You did get solitude. Solitude is always like take a step back, right? It can simply be translated into that. Have a renewed focus into something. Take away from the situation. So when I counsel people and they're getting stuck, I say, just pull it back. So if you're marriage, just have a trial separation. Or if you are engaged, like stop being engaged, just keep dating. Take back one step, just to see if you actually want to re-engage, because then you're working on yourself. Everybody should be working on themselves, because the key in every relationship is to kind of like strengthen this. Some of you will definitely move forward. Some of you will definitely kind of move forward in a very good way. I don't think there is any shortage of love. There is just shortage of solutions in your case. So Aries, your comments are more than welcome. And if you did not subscribe yet, please subscribe. You get invitations from my lives. And please like and share. And check my Facebook for daily tarot. Until the next time, love you and all the best.